Hey, FootClan, before we start today's show, I want to take a second and remind you about jointhefoot.com, our growing and thriving fantasy football community. There's over 3,000 FootClan members over there bouncing ideas off of each other, getting extra stuff from the show, an extra episode every single week. Get your questions answered, get in a raffle, get a live stream. There's all kinds of great things from the fantasy footballers over at jointhefoot.com.
Hey, this is Willie Snead with the New Orleans Saints, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the FantasyJocks.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome to the show, Friday. It's Friday.
Was that like you were welcoming Friday to the show?
That's what it sounded like.
Hey, Friday.
Come sit down, Friday.
Check out the show.
Take
It's a special
seat,
show.
Pull up a chair.
It's special 301.
Not as exciting as yesterday's 300 episode. And shout out to just everybody in the world.
Oh, my goodness. The tweets were fantastic.
We had a couple of very impressive music videos.
Yes. Highlighted by me being turned into the solo man.
I think we gave away about $500 worth of swag, legitimately. Just fantasy footballers gear from Shop Ballers.
Glad to do it.
Very exciting, very fun. We have a great show for you today. We have the second half of the matchups. We have Daily Dose, Chris Meaney back in action.
By popular demand.
By
he's
popular
back.
demand. And if you need more DFS information, you can go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. There are new articles up, including the Week 9 picks by Ben Cummins and Week 9 Daily Dose article by Brandon. So one of our staff writers. It's going to be a very good day. It's going to be a very good day. We will talk about last night's game. I have a quick question of the day that I want to jump into first. This is a commissioner question that was written into the show from Jerry B. in Washington.
Okay.
Now, you've reviewed this, right?
I have.
So you know what's going on? Do you want me to read the entire question, or do you want to summarize it?
Well, let's okay.
It says, hey guys,
Go
I love the
ahead, yeah.
show. I'm a huge fan. In my big money league, I think the commissioner cheated.
Okay.
He's in second, and I'm in third. We play where the leader at the end of the regular season takes all the cash, so every game counts. This week, I'm up against the player that is 1-7. He has no chance at the cash or the playoffs. He hasn't set his lineup in weeks. He's done. He doesn't care anymore. And I bragged to the commissioner that I was going to get an auto win this week because my opponent isn't playing anymore.
There's your first mistake.
Someone then goes in and sets his lineup. I know it was the commissioner, but I cannot prove it. Oh, and quote, the guy didn't add or drop any players. Somebody just set the best lineup with what they had, capital letters. What do I do?
Oh man, that's a sticky situation here because I'm sure you're talking about your friends, your good friends. You're playing against them for cash. Like I said, your first mistake was you don't poke the bear. You never poke the sleeping bear because bad things always happen when you do. Now, whether or not the commissioner set the lineup, maybe the commish sent a text to the friend and said, "Hey, go set your lineup."
There's nothing that you can do.
No, there is absolutely something you can do.
Okay.
You can ask that owner if they set their lineup?
No, you could just beat the guy.
Oh, yeah.
Come
Oh,
on.
there we go.
I mean, look, you should be playing a guy with his lineup set. You poked the bear. The lineup got set. Be happy that he didn't make any waiver moves or hasn't been that involved. He's 1-7. His roster can't be that good. Just go out there and beat the guy, and then look at your best friend commissioner, lock eyes with him, and say,
"Oh yeah,
I know what you did.
I know what you did, and I beat you. And I'm coming for you. And when I win the championship and take all of your money this year, I will reign it over you and then proceed to pick it up off the ground."
Sure, because you can't have
because
any.
you can't have any. It's mine. That would be my recommendation to this fine gentleman, Jerry B.
Yeah, that's a tough lesson learned right there.
All right, I think we covered that pretty well. That's all you can do. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at the FF Ballers. We're also on YouTube, the Fantasy Sports Network. You heard about jointhefoot.com before the show, and the fantasyfootballers.com is the website. So
our website has been getting so many upgrades, Andy, and I just want to say thank you because it's mostly your doing.
Gee whiz.
But people have been writing in and saying they really, really like all the new stuff there. You see some changes on the site if you're there, all the new premium rankings and access to the Footcast, all of those cool things. So if you're not used to going to thefantasyfootballers.com, upgrade your life.
Well, I appreciate you
Treat
thanking.
yourself.
I
Treat
appreciate you
yourself.
thanking the entire web development team.
Yes, thank you to all out there, whoever you are.
If you missed it, yesterday we had a Periscope. It's actually a fun one to go back through, so if you follow us on Periscope, we just talked to everybody for about an hour. A lot of questions about how the show got started, questions about how we met each other.
Questions about inside jokes. A lot of people don't know where, what
certain things.
What is the I love Michael Keaton thing, or where to withstanding victories,
a lot
all
of
those things.
medical questions related to your grammar issues, like what is going on
A
there.
lot of people calling me fat.
There were a lot of people who called you fat.
That's
and
all right.
a lot of people who just asked casually why we don't work out. I find that very offensive.
Well, the truth is, I need, look, I'm not recommending you do this to anyone. This is wrong and rude. Thankfully, I have, as we know, very thick skin.
Multiple layers.
But
of
I
skin.
need a little bit more fat shaming to get my life in order. So I welcome
Oh, so
it.
you welcome it
I welcome
to
it.
motivate
I
you?
don't think that's gonna change you.
No,
You got to look inside.
You're right.
Deep inside.
Deep.
It's
Beneath.
very
it's
deep.
way down
Beneath.
there.
Beneath the
Beneath
layers.
the layers and layers of fat.
All right, so the game last night, Thursday Night Football.
Woo-wee. What a game.
Matt Ryan, Jameis Winston. I had Matt Ryan, my number 1 quarterback on the week, Winston number 6. I'm feeling really good about that right now, which is sometimes you have those rankings and the Thursday doesn't go the way you think. But Matt Ryan is balling out. Jameis Winston's getting it done thanks to that very large man named Mike Evans.
Yes.
And we have talked on the show extensively about Mike Evans and what he could mean to the playoff run for a lot of fantasy owners. Clearly, he's that situation, much like Stafford with Calvin Johnson back in the day, where, look, every play when he's coming back into the pocket, the first read is the tall man.
Yeah, the way that it seems like he's the odd reads. He's the first, and then he goes to a second, and then he's the third,
Right.
and then he
Every
goes to
other.
a fourth, and then he goes
He's
to
every other.
every other. He's every odd read is Mike Evans. Is he open yet?
I got to double check. You open? No. Or you sure?
You open?
You sure?
It doesn't matter. I'm throwing it. To you.
Made arguably the catch of the year down the sideline.
That was the unbelievable one-hander compounded
gets
by
blown
the
up.
absolute shot, which if it was any one of the three of us, our limbs, including our head, would have just
Popped off.
shot off, rocketed into the upper deck.
So here's the reality of this game that I see. The summary, if you will. Every fantasy player that we projected or thought could do well did well -1. So if we talked about the upside of Hooper, he scored. The upside of Brate, he scored. Humphreys scored.
Whoa, Brate, you got to give something to Brate.
Okay, Brate scored, but he did it in garbage time. But let's be honest, the majority of the game was garbage time for Tampa Bay of the second half. I mean, this game, I failed the almost upset of the week. I took a risk, and I failed, and I'm sad because I feel like I had a nice streak going, but that was the wrong call. The one player that I think disappointed fantasy owners in this game that you counted on was Antone Smith.
Yes.
If you picked him up and you started him, the game started very poorly for you with the early fumble. You had more carries going to Peyton Barber and really not very many carries going to any running back at all. You had 11 for Barber, 5 for Smith. Smith then, he was carted off the field.
Which it's bizarre. I was talking to the guys
Nobody's
about it this
talking.
morning. No one's not. Roto World did not mention this. I'm not getting any updates. I'm searching as I want to know what's going on with this situation because I saw it. The man went down, had to be helped off, but no one's talking about it.
Michael Irvin was on the sideline comforting Antone Smith
It
on
looked-
the cart
it
as
looked
though it was
bad.
a season-ending type of injury.
Looked real bad.
So, which makes Peyton Barber the de facto
Yeah.
starter.
Yeah,
So-
he'll be a hot pickup if or when something is announced.
Okay, and then injury news: Jameis Winston went out with an injury.
Went full McCown.
He said he feels fine today, but if he's in the concussion protocol, it doesn't matter how you feel. But
Winston was concussion. I thought it was knee.
Mike Evans.
Mike
is a
Evans was
concussion.
concussion.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah. So Evans was a concussion protocol guy. You need to pay attention, but he's got 10 days.
Yeah, that's
It helps a lot as opposed to getting injured like that Monday night game where Carson Palmer got a concussion. Or no, it was Sunday, but then he had the Thursday game. Makes it a lot more difficult. I wanted to give an update. A couple days ago, we had the midseason election.
yeah.
On the show, we nominated players and we nominated some rule changes, and those results are in. You voted on Twitter. The second half breakout candidates were Jeremy Hill, Kenneth Dixon, and Alshon Jeffrey. Alshon Jeffrey ran away with the second half breakout election.
Makes sense. He's the best of the three.
The second half slowdown, we nominated Jordy Nelson, LeGarrette Blount, and T.Y. Hilton. LeGarrette Blount took the cake, 53% of the vote. Took the cake and ran with it, as LeGarrette Blount would do. Fantasy MVP, well, let's go to the rule change.
Yes.
So we had people vote. For the rule changes, we had you vote yes or no.
And we kind of knew these were going to be the outcomes.
Team defensive points against should only be
scored
the
against
opposing offense.
yes.
So basically, the argument that I made was when you have a team defense like the Rams, in case Keenum throws a pick six, it shouldn't hurt your Rams D. That passed with a 87% yes,
A super majority.
a super majority vote. The fantasy rule change number 2, these two were more
Also had a super majority. But for the negative.
Yeah, quarterbacks should get 1 point per 25 yards rushing, also not 10 yards. They had an 83% no vote. I was firmly in the no vote camp.
Look, people fear change. I get it.
Sure.
Come talk to me in 10 years when this
You
is
have to
passed.
get it on the ballot early and then slowly increment it. And then the last one, Mike had suggested that touchdowns should be worth 4 points instead of 6, and that failed with a 78% no vote because people like their touchdowns.
Well, it's not everyone's ready for the Dreamers.
The Dreamers. All right, and then the final one with over 3,200 votes. The fantasy MVP, also, we made the argument that this would be the player on the most championship rosters. By the way, do you know who that was last year?
Who was on the most championship
Who
rosters?
was the player on the highest percentage of championship
Okay,
rosters?
can I go 3 guesses?
No, you can go one guess.
I would guess,
I'll guess
Kirk
second then.
Cousins.
I'm gonna go David Johnson.
David Johnson was the one mentioned. He was the second highest.
Okay, then I'm switching to Jordan Reed.
No, it was not Cousins or Reed. I only brought it up again because I actually looked at this. It was Tim Hightower.
Oh, yes.
Of course.
He was on 35% of championship rosters. I
Yeah.
believe David Johnson was on 25%. But back to the vote. The fantasy MVP, we nominated Phillip Rivers, Tyler Eifert, and Mike Evans. And far and away the winner was Mike Evans, who rewarded us for his election
the evolution.
with last night's performance.
Which, I will say this. I believe he did not win the vote when I nominated him preseason as fantasy MVP. But he was my pick preseason, fantasy MVP.
What?
Mike Evans.
No one cares. Cool
I'm-
story, bro.
Where's
I'm
the
just saying.
toot for that? Goodness. So we have a great show. The second half of the matchups, we're going to get into the injury reports right now and talk about the guys that are kind of on the bubble. We don't know if they're playing. A lot of a lot of questions that I've been seeing have been Buffalo backfield related. Do I start, quote, the Buffalo backfield, like whoever starts, or Terrence West or Isaiah Crowell or all these different choices? So let's go ahead and get into the injuries.
What's it gonna be, McFly? Are you in or out?
All right, we're playing in or out with Big Ben at the quarterback position. In or out?
In. He's been practicing this week, and he is made of a different meat than most people.
Okay.
He's made of a different meat.
He sure is, man.
I'm gonna go
Because
in.
Normally I'd say he's like made of metal, but Big Ben, no,
A different meat.
Like an aluminum.
He's just a really solid meat.
All right, okay. We're off to a good start. Running back in or out, Spencer Ware.
Going out.
You're going without?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so as well. He still hasn't got out of the concussion protocol, and we're getting close.
So start Charkandrick West.
Yes.
LeSean McCoy in or out?
I lean out.
Okay.
But that's really tough because it's Monday night. If you don't have Gilly,
you need to go elsewhere
as an
probably.
insurance, then I'm gonna go elsewhere to be safe because I want to make sure I get points.
Yep.
Okay.
And I lean out as well.
Carlos Hyde, in or out?
Still in the non-contact jersey. I think that he's gonna play.
Yeah, I mean, the writing out of the 49ers camp beat writers are talking about how they expect DeJuan Harris to be the change of pace back with Carlos Hyde, so they're expecting him in. It's definitely close, but I would say in.
All right. Jonathan Stewart was back at practice on Thursday, so we expect him in, don't we?
Yes.
Turns out they were telling the truth. 2 days of rest.
Oh,
Jerick McKinnon?
I think that he's in. He's returned to practice.
Terrelle Pryor?
In. He's fine.
T.Y. Hilton?
I'm going to go in.
Yeah, he upgraded to full participant in Thursday's practice.
T.Y. Hilton is joined that cast of characters that they just don't practice on Wednesday.
How about someone that I'm being asked about more than just about everybody? Ty Montgomery.
Oof. He's practicing. I think that he will play. I mean, the him being at actual practice speaks a lot, although we expected him to play last week, so be prepared.
Yeah, I'm going to say in based on the John Brown timeline with the same exact issue of sickle cell trait.
Here's what I do with Ty Montgomery, if you want to know my opinion, which I hope you do.
Let me have it.
The Green Bay game is the latest. It's the afternoon game, the 4:25 Eastern game. And so you take on Indianapolis. The Green Bay Packers take on the Colts. You also have the San Diego and Tennessee game starting at the same time. If I had Ty Montgomery, the upside plus baseline of him playing is very high to me, especially with Randall Cobb now being declared a game-time decision. So what I would do is I'd want to make sure that my roster has a wide receiver available, or running back if you're playing Montgomery at running back, from those late-game teams, whether the night game of Oakland and Denver, which, by the way, I'm looking forward to that game, San Diego, Tennessee, or Green Bay and Indianapolis. I mean, whether that's signing, bottom of the barrel, you could go Dontrelle Inman, you could go Kendall Wright. If you have Moncrief, there are other options that you have to ensure the Montgomery play. Because I think he's going to play, but I'd want to be able to make that decision as late as possible, as opposed to just rolling out, Devontae Parker earlier in the day, not having the upside of Ty Montgomery later.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good strategy. And it reminds me also, since we already brought up LeSean McCoy, the same strategy kind of applies. If you don't have Gilly and you have no other waiver options, you might be able to pick up CJ Prosise.
That's the guy that comes
who
to
plays
mind.
in that game, who's widely available in most leagues. And then if Shady plays, you plug him in. And if not, at least you got somebody in that same game.
All right. Travis Benjamin and Tyrell Williams, both of the San Diego wide receivers.
Yeah, Travis Benjamin, we talked about, has the grade 2 PCL sprain. I don't think he'll play this week. Tyrell Williams says that he's going to play. I think he will, but he's been ineffective with this injury.
Yeah, Travis out, Tyrell in.
I would say Dontrelle Inman is a sneaky snart, as we would call him.
Getting
all right. Do you
less
lean
and less sneaky?
Do you lean
Sure.
that Cobb will be out, by the way? Because I lean out.
I lean in. He was back at practice.
Limited.
Yeah, limited. That's going to be a game-time decision is what they're saying.
And lastly, Steve Smith.
He's back at limited practice, so maybe, but I lean out again.
And then some tight ends, Delanie Walker, Dwayne Allen.
I think Walker will play. Allen's back at practice, so the Jack Doyle ride may be over. Also, Hunter Henry is still not practicing, so I don't expect Henry, but Allen and Walker will play.
Walker, to me, is a guy you just need to monitor. Because
Yeah,
he
you
was
got to be
added-
careful.
When you're added on Thursday, and we've already had a week this year, or where Walker was expected to play, and then he missed. So it's not out of the realm that he could just repeat that. And if you're completely unprepared, if you've got Delanie Walker, make sure you've got a backup plan in case he misses, and pay attention to Friday's practice report.
All right, and then Ladarius Green.
Who
He's
knows?
out.
Who knows
He's
what's
out.
going on with him?
All right, before we move on to the fantasy forecast, we do want to thank Harry's, one of the sponsors that helps keep this show going, longtime sponsor. I'm a big fan of Harry's. Everybody here has used them and continues to use them. Sometimes people ask me, what do you like most about Harry's, the product? And it's innumerable. I've used so many different shaving products over the years. What I love about them is the price and quality combination. Every guy out there needs a shaving solution. Harry's represents a high quality product that you're not paying the kind of built-in upcharges that you have with other razor providers. And what's great about Harry's too, unlike the other providers that when they upgrade to the next model,
Price goes up.
the price goes up. But look at Harry's just upgraded all their razors, and they keep prices the exact same. It's still just $2 a blade compared to $4 that you pay at the drugstore. Now they have a softer hinge, a trimmer blade that's built in there, a lubricating strip, a textured handle for control when it's wet. You don't want that thing flying around. They've upgraded, but they have not upgraded their price. Harry's is so confident in the quality of their blades, they will send you their popular free trial set, which comes with the razor, a 5-blade cartridge, shaving gel, free when you sign up for a shave plan. Just pay the shipping. Plus, there's a special offers for fans of the show. Enter the code footballers at checkout to get a post-shave balm added to the order for free. So go to harrys.com right now, enter the code footballers at checkout, and claim your free trial set and post-shave balm. That's harrys.com, code footballers.
And FootClan, never forget about our great friends over at Pristine Auction. They are the only place that you are going to go for the rest of your life to get every kind of signed sports memorabilia. We have seen so many awesome, man cave type of places that are decked out wall to wall with signed jerseys, signed canvases, signed helmets. They're awesome. But you know what I've seen more on Twitter from our followers that I just think is amazing, and I am tempted to start getting my wife in and be like, hey, we gotta do this, is the living room. Making it a centerpiece. You look back in the day where people used to have fancy art. They'd go and spend nice amount of money on art, and they'd be like, ooh, this is from the Renaissance period.
Their voices were much deeper back then.
Yes, they were. But the reality is, these are those pieces that are talking points. You walk into someone's living room and they've got 3 big framed signed jerseys from their favorite players over different periods of time. It's just amazing. And with Pristine Auction, every signature is 100% authenticated, so you could trust them. Go to Pristine Auction. It's PRISTINE auction.com, and let them know the footballer sent you.
Fantasy Forecast.
I remember my parents. They used to talk like that.
How you doing? This was from the Renaissance.
If it was really expensive, the voice got deeper too.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
It was like,
look over here at this piece of artwork. Yeah, that's moving along.
Bill Elliott was big
elderly
in those times. All right, moving on. Fantasy forecast. Back into the matchups. We're going to break down the big fantasy football decisions. Help you on your way this week. Week 9. It was funny, though. You guys said, with the amount of fantasy points scored last night, there are teams either in a very big hole or a very big lead.
Yeah, I saw one. Normally we would say, you're not going to win or lose your week on Thursday. You're just going to get an idea. I think a couple
it gives you an
people.
advantage.
Well, there was one that I saw. It had Matt Ryan, Julio, Evans, and Matt Bryant, my boom boom kicker of the week. And they had 119 points scored against them.
Oh, I especially love that you pushed off the boom boom kicker until you got the pick right.
Yes.
I
I
hope that you I was going to say, I hope that becomes who you are.
Kicker,
You're just known in the industry as the kicker expert after
Don't do that to me.
After your Matt Bryant
Don't
boom
you put
boom.
that evil on me.
Yeah, seriously. So let's move on to the matchups.
Panthers at Rams.
Panthers at the Rams, 44.5 point over-under. Cam Newton, Case Keenum, a match made in heaven. Look, I think the Panthers showed us something last week with their defense coming out of the bye, doing some things differently. Definitely an impressive win over the Cardinals. Right now, the Panthers' run defense is 3rd in the league, and we know Gurley struggles with the yards per carry. I don't see the potential for a monster game from Gurley, but the question for fantasy owners is, would you start somebody else?
In the game from the Rams?
No. Would you start somebody else over Gurley?
Oh,
would you
sure.
Let me give you some opportunities here to make a decision. Would you start Frank Gore at Green Bay, or would you start Todd Gurley at Carolina?
Oh, I would go Gurley there.
Yeah, I would too.
What about Matt Forte at Miami after the couple good weeks, or Todd Gurley?
Definitely starting Forte.
What about Melvin Gordon against Tennessee, or Todd Gurley?
Gordon.
All right, last one. Devontae Booker or Todd Gurley?
Booker.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one I think I'm going to go Gurley on.
We have those guys basically back-to-back in the rankings. We talked about Jonathan Stewart. He's going to be in the lineup, and he scored 2 touchdowns each of the last 2 weeks, delivering a high value at that position. Something that we've wanted to see was, as soon as that concussion happened, we speculated maybe, Jonathan Stewart gets those goal line carries to keep Cam Newton safe. We know Newton's still trying to do that, but last week Newton's fantasy numbers were down. People asked us on the mailbag yesterday, is he no better than a streaming option right now? And when you think about what Russell Wilson and Cam Newton did last year at the position,
I was just going to bring that up. So
go ahead.
Just that Cam Newton's numbers at this point compared to last season, actually pretty comparable, pretty similar. It was the second half when Cam Newton, everything just erupted for both him and Russell Wilson. So don't give up on Cam Newton at this point for me.
No, I agree. And the Rams, while they are a decent defense, a little bit better against the run, they're just completely middle of the pack against the quarterback. You've had big games, Stafford put up the 4-touchdown game against them, and then you've had games where, they shut down Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson was injured. I think the Panthers are all fine plays here. I don't expect huge games from Jonathan Stewart. I actually do think Kelvin Benjamin is a very solid play. If you look at the amount of touchdowns given up in the red zone to wide receivers, combined with Kelvin Benjamin's red zone wide receiver touchdowns,
Four. He has 4 red zone touchdowns.
Which is near the top, if not the
third.
Yeah, it's third in the league. I think that is a match made in heaven for Kelvin Benjamin. The only other player that I would really I think I would be willing to start him here would be Kenny Britt. Kenny Britt's shown that he's, here to stay, and the Carolina defense.
The secondary for Carolina, J.J. Nelson just put up 2 touchdowns on him.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting play. Does your system allow you to put Kenny Britt into your lineup?
Well, I've got much better wide receivers, so no.
Okay.
But if you are in a pinch, I think he is serviceable. Now, would you rather have Tavon Austin?
No.
Or Kenny Britt here?
In a PPR league, I would take Tavon Austin all day over Kenny Britt.
I'll take Kenny Britt.
Really?
Yeah.
You want to do a
Oh,
an,
please.
an ugliest of water bets?
That would
Sure.
be
PPR
amazing.
though.
Yeah.
PPR.
Yeah, that's fine.
Water bet.
Never thought I'd see the day where we had a Kenny Britt Tavon Austin.
Just a Kenny
bet.
Britt Tavon Austin water bet.
Saints at 49ers.
Saints 49ers 52.5 point over under in this one. I've told you all. I've went out on the limb and said Colin Kaepernick's a top 10 quarterback for me this week.
I
Oh
think
me, oh my. The Saints, the 28th best pass defense.
28th best.
28th best. 28th best. And Colin Kaepernick at home off the bye. Might get Carlos Hyde back, read option, opportunities with his legs. Just got to throw a touchdown and run the ball, and he's going to give you a serviceable week.
Yeah, I mean, if
you'll be biting your nails the whole game, but I think he'll do it.
If Prop 25 was enacted and he did not get absurd amounts of fantasy points for running the ball, Colin Kaepernick would have a bad game. But he's going to run for 50 yards, which will make his production fine. He'll get a couple touchdowns because it's New Orleans. I don't have him top 10, but he's certainly a streamable option this week and better than a lot of other guys. I would play him over Matthew Stafford this week as an example.
The 49ers defense are allowing over 2 touchdown passes a game. They're allowing over almost 1.5 rushing touchdown per game. So start your Saints.
The world wants to know how many, though, Mike. They want to know Ingram, Hightower, Cook, Snead, and Thomas.
How many
I
combined?
think you just named them.
Do you start all those guys?
I'm
Yes.
fine starting absolutely
Kobe
every single
Fleener?
one.
How do you feel about Fleener?
I'm fine starting him.
All right, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Saints.
Well, look, not all 7 of them will hit, but 52.5 over under against the worst defense in the league.
You willing to roll Sean Payton in there too?
Not if he's going to be a dum-dum and bench people.
Oh.
Hey,
You get negative points for that kind of decision-making.
This just came across the wire. LeSean McCoy practicing again on Friday.
Oh, no.
So that means they're
That's
probably
a really good sign with the extra day.
Yeah, so that leans me more towards being willing to grab CJ Prosise and wait out LeSean McCoy. But come on,
Bills.
Rex Ryan, don't do it. You got your bye week next week.
You have to play him eventually. He has to be well eventually.
Oh man, let him. You
are
just so much
fighting for the
extra-
playoffs.
You get so much extra rest.
Have you seen him? He's very good.
Was he good last week when he was played too early and then re-aggravated his hamstring?
No.
Okay.
No, he wasn't. All right. Anything else
Ask
from
Doug
this
Martin.
game?
You don't have to get better ever.
Yeah, if Carlos Hyde plays, you certainly play him. The question, if he's out, I think we're all in agreement. It's DeJuan Harris is the running back that you want to start. The question is, if Carlos Hyde is in, could you still start DeJuan Harris?
Deep leagues.
I would say no.
Maybe. If they don't want to overwork Hyde, bad defense.
I would not.
If he's the change of pace, yeah, I wouldn't either.
The Colts at Packers.
Packers, 7.5-point favorites, 54-point over-under. This one has all the makings of a fantasy feast. Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers, you're starting both of those guys, and you don't look back. You have Frank Gore, who just keeps getting it done on the Colts side of the ball, including this recent news from Rob Chudzinski.
Yeah, Chudzinski.
That he absolutely
Old Chuddy. My Chuddy buddy.
Absolutely wants to get Frank Gore more touches this week. He's been doing things with the touches. He's been doing things with the ball out of the backfield in the passing game. Look, he's the best RB2 you could have.
Yeah, because he finishes as an RB1.
Right. He's the best RB1 you could have.
He's the worst RB1
place.
you could have and the best RB2 you can have because he's always at that 12, 13
He's
spot.
just very consistent. You're going to get something.
He's a succubus.
He's a succubus?
He's just stealing everyone's life force and continues to play and be great.
Yeah, you're going to start everybody.
Poor Niall Davis.
You're going to start everybody in this game. I think I'm fine. I believe that Montgomery's playing. Devontae Adams was my start of the week this week. Jordy should be set. T.Y. Hilton. Is there a single player? Is there anybody in this game on either side of the ball that you would hesitate to start? I'm not starting Jeff Janis if we're going that
I was
deep.
going to ask, if Cobb is out, is Janis playable at all?
Not for me.
I'm not. He was on the field 90% of the time and did almost nothing last game.
Except scored a touchdown.
I think you hesitate on any tight end from Indianapolis right now. Allen and Doyle. I don't know which guy I'd start there. I'm not starting Allen, and so the question is, do you start Doyle with Allen back? So
I'm streaming Doyle.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, I guess.
But I don't really like it.
I'd rather have played Brate last night, for example.
Well, of course.
By the way,
if you play
historically speaking, my accuracy on predictions is incredible when you go backwards.
Yeah,
like my ability to read a stat line, it's elite.
I've heard there's a service that allows you to pay money and switch your bench and basically do that.
You hear about this out there?
Come on.
I'm not going to name any names, but
rhymes with SchmimFL.
What is going on over there?
You can't have that. Look, if that's a feature where you want to add a feature where, hey, you get to make one bench to starter replacement at the end of the week, that's a cool feature. If the league wanted to turn that on and say, hey, you get one like roster move do-over and everyone in the league agreed, I wouldn't want that. But it's a neat feature to add as an option. But if it's like, hey, you can do that
for money as many times
pay.
as you want.
What?
I want to know where
it is disgusting.
Well, the money goes back to the players though in a pot. Oh
no, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Okay.
It's a vacuum that those bank tubes.
Yeah.
It actually there's a tube that goes right into Roger Goodell's
office,
and it just dumps it on him.
All right. You see, Sherman came out this morning and said the NFL ratings are down because it's no fun. You don't let anybody have any personality do anything on the field.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, there has to be a balance, but you have to let players.
You have to. I mean,
enjoy the game.
This
is ridiculous.
Josh Norman do an arrow.
Yeah.
After he
how dare you?
It's just
arrows are so.
Guys, there's children watching.
It's gotten to the point where it's just ridiculous. I don't like the guys, wearing putting the marker in the socks and having a phone and going extravagant.
Going and sitting on the star.
But come on, let him have some fun.
Loosen up, Roger. Papa Bear. Here we go.
Titans at Chargers.
All right, Marcus Mariota is stringing together a number of quarterback one performances. Does it continue against this Chargers defense?
It's certainly very possible. The Chargers are 23rd against the pass while they are 6th against the run. So, this is a pretty solid run defense going up against DeMarco Murray, one of the best running backs this year. So there's a situation. I was going to throw this out there. Mariota's stretch, while it's not as scorching, he's reminding me of Russell Wilson end of year last season where the numbers don't make sense. His touchdown efficiency with the volume doesn't make sense to me. But sometimes these streaks happen like that, and you got to ride it out until it finishes. So Mariota is a fine play this week.
The Chargers' pass defense has been vastly improved with Joey Bosa, and so for me, when I look at
their entire defense,
Mariota is not quite as good under pressure. I think he's okay. He's a low end quarterback one for me this week. But I don't see the Chargers passing defense the way I saw it, 3 weeks ago. You got to stay current with these defenses. Same on the other side of the ball. Real quick to just talk about, Phillip Rivers coming up against Tennessee. There is the idea that Tennessee has this pretty good defense against quarterbacks, through the first 5 weeks of the year. They hadn't given up more than 254 yards, only gave up 2 touchdowns once in the first 5 games. Do you know what they've done the last 3 weeks? I don't know if people are aware of what's happened to the Tennessee.
Let's hear it.
I know they've given up a lot of touchdowns.
Well, 3 weeks ago, 336 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's great for fantasy. 2 weeks ago, 353 yards and 3 touchdowns.
That's better.
And then last week, 337 and 3. However, a lot of that was the most epic garbage time of all time.
Oh, that
was Blake Bortles. But they are susceptible, and Phillip Rivers is no Bortles.
Let me ask you about Derrick Henry, because there's the rumors in the bushes that they want to get Derrick Henry more involved, more touches. Are you willing to take that information and his past performances? He had a good game last week. Maybe that was the breakout, and at least flex him.
I don't know. I think you'll probably get enough production. San Diego gives up a touchdown every 20 carries. That's 7th worst in the league. I think you saw last week a willingness to bring Henry in for parts of drives in the red zone. I'd rather have DeMarco Murray.
Well, yeah, I'm not asking that.
I just don't know what.
Hey, would you guys rather have
in a week
DeMarco or Niall Davis?
Okay, well, in a week like this,
DeMarco.
In a week with the bye weeks, the injuries, the DeJuan Harrises of the world, give me Derrick Henry.
Okay.
In those type of decisions, give me Derrick Henry. I'm curious where we have Henry. We have him. Well, he must be higher than that.
My search function. Did we have him 24?
Yeah,
Our
okay.
consensus 24.
Wow. That's pretty high.
Yeah, I think I've got him the highest at 21. The San Diego
So
Chargers.
you're confident as a running back too, as of right now.
Yeah, I believe that. Well, I mean, he's low end RB2. I think his opportunity to score a touchdown like he did last week is as high as ever against the Chargers passing defense. When you add in the fact that DeMarco Murray had an injury, he's played through it, he's fine. I mean, DeMarco Murray very well could be the number 1 running back this week, but should he get injured, you also have just an absolutely enormous upside, and I think it's somewhat safe on this bye week to throw Derrick Henry in as a flex.
Okay, other storylines from this game you want to pay attention to. We talked about Hunter Henry probably not playing. Antonio Gates is a great start this week. Completely
agree. We also talked about the question mark with all the wide receivers there. The only healthy guy is Dontrelle Inman. And if you don't know, Inman, a lot of times Inman is thought of as like this 6 foot average whatever receiver.
Boring.
Yeah, a big boring receiver. He's 6'3" and ran like a 4.3 in his pro day. He's a physical freak.
He's a weapon.
He's a weapon. That's the best way to say. He's a weapon. And we've seen games where he's exploded. This could be one of those games because the chips are falling right, or rather wrong, with the other wide receivers.
Would you say that George and Mark are in town?
Man,
perfect storm situation.
Yeah.
I think one of them has arrived, but I think the other
one's delayed.
Yeah, the other flight is delayed. Not a perfect storm, because Tennessee, if garbage time didn't happen last week, we'd probably still look at Tennessee's defense with a little bit more respect. So it's a half a storm.
Last guy here I want to ask about, flex worthy or not. 2 out of the past 3 weeks has been very good. 1 dud in between though. Kendall Wright.
Yeah.
You know Mariota loves Kendall Wright.
I
He
think
loves Kendall
I
Wright.
think I'm okay starting him as a flex.
Okay.
As a nothing more, nothing
Would
less.
you start C.J. Prosise or Kendall Wright?
That's a good question. I think I would go Kendall Wright.
I'll go Wright.
He has a
yeah.
much longer history of getting it done.
All right.
I had to close my eyes and think hard, though.
You did.
Broncos at Raiders.
All right. Welcome back to Earth, Derek Carr. You
Yep.
get the Denver Broncos, the number one pass defense in the league. You have Aqib Talib, a game time decision. Obviously, it bodes better for Derek Carr's.
I was listening to the radio this morning. There was rumors in the bushes that Talib might be missing the whole rest of the year.
Really?
Yeah. I
had
need
not
to
heard
follow
that.
up. These are just rumors at this point.
That's a far cry from game time decision.
Well, he could be a game time decision every week.
Yeah, that's scary. I mean, he's one of the best in the game, a difference maker for
Especially at poking eyeballs.
sure. All right.
Gouging, more like.
Devontae Booker must start this week. You're
Yep.
rolling out Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders without hesitation against the Raiders' 27th ranked pass defense, even if we haven't loved everything we've seen out of Trevor Siemian.
Yeah, I think the real question that people have with this game is the Oakland passing game. Can you trust Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree, and how low do you dying here? How low do you push Derek Carr below other quarterbacks? So let's talk about those.
You start smoking?
No, man, maybe
This
I need
morning.
Back when they were showing off the artwork in the olden days, they'd have a
to. Yes, I'd have a pipe in one hand. And
look at my artwork. Yeah, I agree. That's a storyline from this game. The Broncos defense. This is that something gotta get. Oh, God.
It's contagious.
Oh man,
what is
our
happening?
throats are dying.
Oh my gosh, the Broncos defense has allowed just
Stay
19
away.
receptions per game. Derek Carr has averaged 40 pass attempts per game. So, what do you do if you are, if you're figuring out what to do on offense for Oakland? Are you trying to lean on Latavius Murray, DeAndre Washington? Are you trying to
You
do
have
something
to.
different?
I think you have to. I pumped the brakes on Derek Carr because he's not a plug-and-play guy to me. I've seen too many of his failures.
Oakland is favored.
You got to be kidding me.
No,
They're at home.
They're at home.
I don't care.
They're 6-2.
I don't care.
I think this is
Let me make an argument
they
real
have
quick
to. This is
for Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree.
do it.
Here's the thing with Denver. The reason you have these two unstoppable forces is because the passing the passing offensive line when they're just incredible in Oakland. Derek Carr has very little pressure on him, and he has had the time. The reason that Denver's passing defense is so good is because they put on the pressure on the quarterback.
Sure.
They don't stop runs in the backfield because they are pinning their ears back and going for the quarterback. This game is going to be determined by whether or not Derek Carr will get pressured like he has not been this year by that Denver D-line. That's what it comes down to. And so there is a situation here where Oakland's offensive line actually wins out just in that situation. And if they do, and you're down Aqib Talib, then one of those wide receivers can actually have a decent game. Now I'm not saying
if the Raiders win this game at home
They
against
got Roby
Denver,
still.
they take a stranglehold of the division and put themselves in a totally different circumstance than they've been in a long time. This is a big game. This is why I'm looking forward to this game.
Yes.
Maybe more than any
Yeah,
game this
big
year.
implications for sure.
So
I have both wide receivers as
where do you have them? Where do you have Cooper and Crabtree?
I
Because
have
people
Cooper-
freak out. They bench those guys against Denver.
No, you can't bench them, but I expect lower things out of them. But
Yeah.
I'm not like grabbing a waiver guy. and
I'm
throwing him.
rooting for the Raiders.
I have Cooper 29 and Crabtree 22 this week. So you've got them right on that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 range where you should be starting them and tempering your expectations.
We're going to move on to the Monday night game and then get into the Daily Dose with Chris Meaney.
Bills at Seahawks.
All right, the Bills take on the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. The piece together wide receiver core in Buffalo does not does not bode well for an offensive performance here from Tyrod Taylor.
They got Percy. He's back.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. Percy Harvin.
When you need to sign Percy Harvin, things ain't going well.
So
if it was like 2011, it would be okay.
So, Jason, you said that McCoy played again. Practiced again.
Yes, McCoy was practicing today again.
Now go up to Seattle and play against Seattle coming off an injury.
So stupid. Don't do it, man. Don't do it, Rex. And it's not.
Do they even get on the plane then? If they have to go to Seattle and play with Gillislee and Woods and Harvin, do you just, hey, we're going to skip this one?
Well, I mean, you could check out the Space Needle. Get
That's
some
true.
Starbucks. I would still go. Just throwing it out there.
The more that I think about this, the more that I am actually convinced McCoy's going to play. Because Rex Ryan is going to listen to his players. He's a player's coach. And McCoy is going to say he's fine to play. It's the wrong decision. I am adamant. The question now becomes, do you really play McCoy injured against Seattle in Seattle? Like we've been talking about, hold on to Gilly and,
right.
And start McCoy if he plays. But let's say McCoy plays. Do you really want that? How did McCoy do last week in Miami?
Well, how did he do the week before?
He at least does.
When he was healthy, great.
And you have to presume health.
I
if he's
do
coming
not
back.
have to presume health coming off of a hamstring injury that he just re-aggravated the last time he tried to come out on 1 week. I do not presume health there.
Well, he didn't play last week. You're thinking 2 weeks.
2 weeks ago. Yeah, he took a week off.
He took a week off.
Yes, 2 weeks ago.
I am choosing to presume health after a 1 week absence. If he plays, had the extra time this week, I don't think you could possibly sit Sean McCoy. I
agree. I mean, I have him statted like he's going to play, and he's still at 12 for me because of the volume.
What is Doug Baldwin rest of the season?
Wide receiver 2, I think. Here's a problem for the Seattle Seahawks. The Bills' defense are averaging over 3 sacks a game. That's number 1 in the league. The offensive line for Seattle is not the best unit in the league. They are, in fact, one of the worst.
And Russell can't move.
And Russell cannot move. I mean, you have a situation here where you want to talk about it's a crazy world. A team is favored at home and possibly the best home field advantage for the Seattle Seahawks. If I had an almost upset of the week, I would click it right here because the Bills' defense against an immobile Russell Wilson, all they need is a couple big plays from Tyrod Taylor.
And Percy Harvin.
Revenge game for Harvin, by the way.
Oh, revenge game. They didn't even play him in Seattle.
Yeah.
But
Harvin comes back.
So I'm
over under on Harvin getting
does
a
Harvin
concussion.
get hurt in the second quarter or the first?
Come on. I'm presuming health. Percy.
All right.
So I'm just Jimmy Graham is a play for me. Baldwin, I mean, you play him, and then I guess the bigger question for me is the woke one. But that's
Christine
not even,
Michael.
Yeah, that's not even a big question because I'm playing him.
Yeah.
He's touchdown machine.
And then CJ Prosise, we said, he's a desperation play. He actually produced last week. He almost scored on a 45-yard reception. I think he put up 12 fantasy points because of 4 catches, 4 opportunities behind center, running the ball. And they said they want to give him more opportunities. So, look, you drafted him. There's opportunity there with CJ Spiller out. It seems like Prosise is going to get the chance.
And
Interesting.
He's a talented player.
Right. So we're going to move on now. Talk to Chris Meaney, give you some DFS knowledge.
The Daily Dose.
All right, we've been gone for a couple weeks here, but we got in contact with Chris Meaney. We have located him. I think he was at the North Pole or something. That was, of course, what was going on. But we brought him back because people need their FanDuel advice. How are you doing today, Mr. Meaney?
Yeah, doing pretty well. Looking at this schedule, though, guys, I'm not in love with it. I don't like the 6 teams on bye.
So let's start at the top. We got quarterbacks. What are you looking at doing this week?
Up for quarterbacks this week, guys. Like I mentioned with some of the buys and some of these quarterbacks. I know Dak Prescott's got a pretty good matchup against Cleveland. Everybody always wants to play against Cleveland, but this could be a run game, and they could be in the situation in the second half where they just run the football. He's $7,600 on FanDuel, but I'm just looking at Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees at the top. I mean, it's so safe. I mean, Aaron Rodgers up against the Colts. He just throwing the ball a ton, 38 times, 56, 42, 45. That's the last 4 games. 7 touchdowns in his last 2. You're going to have to pay up for him at 91, but I have no problem with it. And then Drew Brees, the San Francisco 49ers are just a joke. I mean, they're just awful at every aspect of the game, especially defensively. So Brees at $8,600. I like him, and I'll get to a couple of wide receivers, but his favorite target seems to be Michael Thomas lately. So I'm definitely on board with that. And then on the flip side of that, I just kind of, was giving a lot of heat to the 49ers. But Colin Kaepernick, 140 rush yards in the last 2 games. I think he's more of a GPP tournament play. I wouldn't trust him in a head-to-head in a 50-50, but I think at $7,200 against the Saints, maybe he can connect with Torrey Smith and a deep ball. Maybe Carlos Hyde is completely healthy in this game and he can catch a few balls for him. But Kaepernick is just making things happen with his legs, and that's what we love.
All right, let's move it over to the wide receiver position. Who are we going up? You going big? You got some cheapies? What's your plan this week?
Yeah, I'm not really spending up. Again, I did mention Dak. Odell Beckham, he even said himself he's not 100%. He's more like 85%. That Eagles defense has been pretty good this year. Antonio Brown is Antonio Brown at $8,700 if you're going to get Big Ben back here this weekend. I know it's a divisional matchup, and those teams play each other pretty tight, but you can't go wrong with Antonio Brown. Usually this guy's up in the $9,000 range, so at $8,700, that's a steal. Dez Bryant, 14 targets last week, 4 receptions, 100-plus yards. Scored a touchdown. Probably would have scored 2 or 3 if it was Romo throwing the ball, not Dak. But I'm fine with those guys. A little bit cheaper down, though. Devontae Adams, $7,100 against the Colts. I'm just looking at that game in particular, guys. The total is Saints, 49ers, 52, and then Colts, Packers, 54 points. You got to look at that stuff. 30 targets in the last 2 weeks for Adams. I don't even care if Montgomery or Cobb are playing. I like Adams. Sanders at $6,800, 75 targets this week. He's got Oakland. Or 75 targets on the year. He's got Oakland. Imagine 75 targets for the week. You got to play him at $6,800.
That's a must play.
Everybody's down on Allen Robinson, so this is a perfect time to maybe play him. I know against the Chiefs, it's not great, but they've been giving up some big plays here and there. $6,700. Bortles has just been a joke so far. And Dante Moncrief, guys, came back last week, 9 targets, scored a touchdown, $6,100. In fact, his last 10 games with Andrew Luck, he's got 7 touchdowns. In those 3 games he didn't have a touchdown, 2 of them came against Denver. We know what they do. And then last year against Carolina when they had a good defense. And then I mentioned Michael Thomas, $5,800, 42 receptions, leads that team. 6 targets, 6 grabs, 63 yards against Seattle in a tough matchup. The week before that, 10 grabs, 130. And there's a lot going on in San Diego. If there's some injuries, if Benjamin doesn't play, Tyrell Williams is $5,600. 2 of his last 3 games have been bad, but again, against Denver, you saw what he did against Atlanta, 140 yards on 7 grabs. And then Inman is $5,500, 13 targets in his last 2 weeks. So there's a couple of little sneaky plays there if there's no Benjamin, and I don't think he's going to play.
Love it. Let's move over to the running back position. How are you addressing it?
It's kind of chalk, actually. I know Kendrick West is going to be popular. You got to keep that in mind. If you're playing in a head-to-head or 50-50s, you're most likely going to go up against West, $5,600. He was okay last week, 14 for 52, a couple catches. Looks like, well, actually it is. Nick Foles is going to play, a lot of checkdowns. West was good last year, over 4 yards per carry. He had 3 games in a row with 3 touchdowns when he was the guy. Devontae Booker's a little bit more expensive, but 80 total yards in the last 2 games, 2 touchdowns. He caught 5 balls last week against Oakland. And then Zeke, again, this might be the game script where he just runs a lot, especially in the second half. I'm sure Alfred Morris is going to get sprinkled in there. But at $9,200, you're going to have to pay up. But it's a great matchup against Cleveland. That guy just runs so hard. And then in another tournament play, you can go Theo Riddick, 3 games over 20-plus points. In 6 games this season, he's got 43 targets and 34 catches. I like him a lot at $6,600. Sproles is not a guy you can trust, but it seems like he's the guy that Doug Peterson likes and not Ryan Matthews.
Yeah, it's been much maligned on this show. All right, let's strap on the sewer boots. Let's wade through the tight ends. What are you doing? We know Jordan Reed is on bye, so one of the big dogs is out. Is this Gronk or die?
Yeah, well, Gronk is out too. Gronk's out too.
Of course, everybody's out. What is the NFL? What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me?
And this is why I think I'm so bummed about. I mean, Mike, we've been talking about this all year about how the tight end positions has been so bad, and then you got Reed out, Eifert out, Gronk out.
Yeah, so Olsen or bust. That's what I meant. That's what I meant to say. Of course.
Yeah, they're all out. So Pitt has got the most targets without a tight end, without a touchdown. That's not bad. Kelsey was good last week, 10 targets, 7 catches, 101 yards. Nick Foles, I mentioned him. Maybe he relies on his tight end a little bit. I'm going a little bit deeper. The narrative on Detroit, it's actually a thing. 8 touchdowns allowed. We saw C.J. Fedorich get a touchdown last week. Rudolph is a decent play at 5, but I'm going to go just the bare minimum. I hate this position. I know you hate it too. $4,500 is the minimum for Lance Kendricks. I know it's not great.
Oh,
This is what we're talking about here, the tight end position. 15 targets, 12 grabs, 89 yards, a touchdown his last 2 weeks. He's got 7+ targets in 3 of his last 4 games. Maybe there's something there. Case Keenum is not great. Carolina is good at stopping the run, but they've had some issues with, stopping the pass. So maybe there's something there with Kendricks. I mean, who knows? It's $4,500.
yeah. All right. I like that approach. And then do you have any tight end or defenses that you like this weekend?
Yeah, I'm just paying up. Bortles, I mentioned how awful he's been. So KCD, Denver D against Oakland. I know Oakland was so good last year, but you can't just rely on, Cooper and Crabtree to have games. Last year, week 16, Cooper had 8 targets, 0 catches against that defense. So Oakland probably going to struggle against Denver. Dallas against Cleveland. And I like the Eagles. I've been liking them all year. They just score points, 12.6 fantasy points per game on FanDuel. That's the second most of anybody going this week, and the most is Minnesota. So if you want to save a little bit of dough, you can do that with Philadelphia at $4,600.
Love it. The Foot Clan, I'm sure, is very happy that you are back. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully there are no interferences for next week, and we'll get to talk to you again. So thank you once again to Chris Meaney. We'll talk to you a little bit later, my friend.
Love being on, guys. Thanks for having me. Good luck with all your plays.
All right, special thanks to Chris Meaney once again for delivering some of that DFS goodness. If you like playing FanDuel, I believe you can go to FanDuel.com/footballers.
If you haven't tried
FanDuel before, you want to give it a shot. You get some free entries. We forgot something at the top of the show that we just plain shouldn't forget. Or did we?
FootClan Friday.
Because we haven't given enough stuff away for free.
It's true.
FootClan Friday, we say thank you to the Foot Clan, all the supporters that joined thefoot.com. Today's winner of a $50 gift card.
It's another 50.
Isn't that what we normally do?
It's too late. You already said it.
No, what do we normally do?
I don't know. $5?
No, $50 gift card. Owen Sharp.
Owen Sharp. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you for shopballers.com now.
Thank you for supporting the show. We really appreciate it.
All right, that does it for Friday's episode. Hopefully you're well on your way to a victory. Last night didn't hurt you too bad, or you had those guys on your team. Good luck in week number 9. Thank you for listening to the show, supporting the show. We'll be back here on Monday, as always, with more fantasy football goodness.
And, of course, check out the studio sponsor, FantasyJocks.com. Look, awards are coming up. You can go get your championship belts and your trophies at FantasyJocks.com with the promo code FOOTBALLERS. See you on Monday.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.